Hi, and welcome to another episode of Growing Up. Today, we will be chatting with some mommies to see how they've experienced their firstborn versus their secondborn. But first, bespoke Janae.
So pregnancy and COVID for me was lonely because my husband, as a lot of mommies, couldn't take their husbands with them for appointments. And also certain things like baby showers I missed out on because of many people getting sick around me and just my anxiety at that moment, thinking about my baby and me having asthma.
At that stage, Sam, as you and I would say, we were pregnant during COVID light. I was working from home. I didn't have much social interaction except with my family. I think the biggest challenge I had during that time was to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. I ultimately did decide to get the vaccination.
For me, it was very stressful at first because my firstborn was going to school and I was scared that he will bring the virus home. But then I got vaccinated and then my anxiety went away.
When I was pregnant with my daughter, they talked about the vaccine for pregnant women, but I was way too scared to do it. There wasn't a lot of pregnant women doing it that time. So it's very interesting to hear how you guys experience. For me, preparing my son was very easy for me because somebody told me not to have expectations. So I didn't put any expectations on him or on what's going to happen. Obviously, we talked about it a lot. He saw my belly growing. I bought a gift for him that the baby gave to him. He immediately, when he saw his sister, they just connected.
For myself as well, it was fairly easy, to be honest. I did have a bit of concern. My son was, by himself for quite a few years. He's quite a big mommy's boy as well. So I was wondering, I think, whether the gender might play a role. And I think subconsciously I was hoping that it would be a girl because then there wouldn't be any, competition. Mm-hmm. Include him with as much as we could. We took him to doctor's visits with us. I really started to prepare him for that big brother role, and just saying you're going to be the best brother, very much hyping him up, preparing him to, kind of go into that role.
Delivery was interesting for me since Daddy couldn't stay at the hospital and there was no visitors policy. So it was very lonely, but also somewhat very peaceful.
There weren't any major precautions. My husband could be with me every step of the way. We didn't need to do any testing beforehand.
Now I worry about getting the virus or that my newborn may get the virus. So we are still very cautious. But then again, my baby already had RSV twice. So it's been stressful.
And then the other thing that I also liked half about the whole COVID thing was that didn't have to explain to people why they couldn't come to my house after I gave birth because there was COVID.
I am breastfeeding with both of my children. For me, I never had any issues with breastfeeding, so it came very naturally for me. I find it very beneficial. I find that obviously it's very convenient for myself. I also find it extremely tiring. I will eventually introduce formula because I am and will be a working mom. So I'll try and do a bit of both.
I really wanted to breastfeed. With my first pregnancy, I went into it positively. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the best mom with the breastfeeding because breast is best. And then my baby had reflux. I was so stressed. My body was stressed. I went into a feeling of I'm not good enough now. The child is not even a week old. And yeah, I am struggling just to do the basic thing, breastfeeding. And then at the end of the day, my husband also said, you know what? If you can't do it, you can't do it. I decided to switch over to formula, just with my with my second pregnancy as well. She had also a lot of issues with colic.
With my firstborn, I was breastfeeding till about 6 months, and I was so adamant on giving him the golden juice. This time around 2, but I stopped after 3 weeks. It just became so stressful and exhausting. As you know, I smoke and I drink, and having to clock myself as to when I can smoke or drink, then pump and dump. And then I also read somewhere that if you smoke more than 10 cigarettes a day, then your milk composition changes. Also, your milk supply decreases. So I was like, okay, do I hold off on smoking for a few months longer? Or do I stop breastfeeding? Mother of the year decided to stop breastfeeding.
With my firstborn, I had a routine because that's what you read, that's what you need to do. And with my firstborn, I could do anything that we wanted to do, and put our time out to do fun stuff and not worry about anything else except him. So routine has definitely not been so strict for my secondborn because it's more just falling in with my firstborn.
Oh, I was noting everything down with my firstborn. I was trying to find the perfect routine. It was actually insane if I think about it now. So now all I do is I go on baby's queue. I know what time it will wake up in the morning. I know what time he wants to go to bed at night. I know he wants to drink every 4 hours a full bottle or every 2 hours half a bottle. And I know that he will want to take a nap after he's been awake for an hour.
The second time round, same as with Robin, really. I don't have a set routine for her. I didn't have one, to be honest, with my son either. I very much just go on what they want to do. But also, more than anything, I try and fit them into my routine. When do I want to wake up? What time do we have to go to work or get ready, my son ready for creche? You know, so that's really my focus. Yeah, so the best advice that I received, it's two pieces of advice. The first one was from my sister. She said to me, you know, if you're ever getting overwhelmed and baby's crying and you are just, you know, we've all been there where you don't know what you're gonna do. She said, put the baby down, step away for 1 or 2 minutes, take a breath, and come back. All love our children, honestly, but sometimes you are just like, you know, especially if you're alone, daddy's not there. Second advice that I would want to share is that your baby won't remember the things that happen now, but your toddler will. So when you are making certain decisions now, consider the feelings of the toddler because the baby really won't remember.
Routine. Or some type of structure must be in place. These were true for both my kids. I would, and I think they would also lose their mind if they didn't know what was going to happen next. I also read in a book once that preschoolers, they like to know what will happen next. That's why they like watching the same shows over and over, and that makes them feel safe and comfortable in some way. So I'm thinking maybe it's the same with the newborn. I mean, of course, you get your off days where baby just like, especially when it is growth spurts or when something's changed. But for the most of it, it works.
I think for me, it was basically not to compare myself to other moms, that my best is my best. But the other thing that I would definitely say is when you have a baby, you don't want to make food. So if you have family or friends that could provide food for you during that time, that's the best thing to have.
Yeah, so it seems that overall we want to give the best for our babies, but it gets tougher the more kids you have. Ultimately, we will settle in. Also, different strokes for different folks. What works for the one doesn't work for the other. And it's not always just as simple as to say, do this, do that, and this works and that doesn't work, because every baby is different. Every parent is different. Till next time, bye.